Yeah. I found. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to share. I'm thinking about the movie The Matrix and how we're not, we don't know what our real body looks like or who's enslaving us or whatever. But so there is beyond our physical manifestation, because like we could be holograms. And like what I'm showing you here, I have a virtual background on my Zoom. So you're not seeing where I really am, but you're seeing what I want to project to you. So like I have Ted Nelson on over my right shoulder, and I have Douglas Engelbart's chord keyboard, one that I made myself on the other side, and computer monitors showing stuff. So that's not, and that is something that existed a few months ago on a table that has no longer exists. And this shirt is designed by this guy who's now dead. And I could remember him and listen to podcasts where it's like he's alive again. So it's this whole human memory that we're drawing upon and augmenting and using, because I could read books from the 1800s that'll help me today. So, and it's out there. It's on archive.org, and it's a question of selecting the right information to help you with your goals today and your community. So like I'll think of, I may be in a group and it'll remind me of something I read, and then I could point someone to a source, or even like online chats now, I could type in a chat window and whoever's reading the chat can follow my source if they want to follow it up or not. So it's a question of how do we connect? So I'm seeing like the threads and like a spider web where we're all spinning threads, putting them out there and connecting to each other in different ways on different threads through different channels. And that metaphor could be helpful because we also need to be able to evaluate truth and relative to what's out there, because I mean, even experts could say things that aren't true, and many people could follow experts. And unless you know the real truth that they're getting money from certain people who are telling them to say that, yeah, you have to discern your own truth. So, or group truth, or nation truth. And I mean, ultimately, yeah, we could all be computer programs running some in the matrix somewhere, but we have consciousness and we have bodies which are like antennas tapping into a source. We don't know what it is, but maybe one day we will. But while we're here, we have a mission, whatever we define that to be. So I'm complete now.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I have a long weekend this weekend. I'm off until Wednesday, so actually can come up above water for a little breath. I mean, I've been involved in the Facebook chat recently, and I figured I'll show my face and say hi to everybody. And I mean, I guess Sundays are usually an unblocking call, so maybe I could get unblocked. We'll see. We'll see about that. But yeah, I mean, it seems like there's interesting things going on, and I had posted some ideas. I posted like a PDF about some ideas I had, and just figured I'd follow up and see if people. I mean, what potential synergies we might have with each other, and just to really, I mean, I was alone like last night and this morning, and actually made a video on YouTube this morning. So I had some options of what I could do. I just decided, okay, I'm going to try this 11 o'clock call, and I'm glad I'm here. It's nice to see all of you.
Yeah. If you want to pick an agenda, feel free. Go ahead, Joshua.
I'm just waving hi to Eric. Good to see you, Eric.
Good to see you, Josh.
Waving hi to you, Sam and Barry.
All right.
Yep.
For the benefit of Sam Chen, who I think you haven't met.
I haven't.
Eric is a longtime friend of this crew, and especially, I think you're pretty close to Stacy, or either local or
Well,
something.
she's in New York.
Yeah.
I visited her a few times up in New York. Yeah, I mean, I got into this when it started with whatever, PKE, Practical Knowledge Ecology. And then those people told me about this group. And then eventually I got into Jerry's Mikowski's group. And so I've been like more regular with Jerry Mikowski's group, but recently I've been watching some of your videos here and seeing, just trying to get a sense of where you are now, and what you see going on, and where you may be going. So maybe that's the agenda, just an update of where GCC is right now and what you want to do with it. And then I'll see where I fit in.
You have been watching some of the recent uploaded videos on you, so I don't need to fill you in on the soap opera.
No, that you don't need to fill me in on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in like how you perceive what's going on in the world now and where GCC fits in. Like, what is its new mission?
Okay. Sam, you want to give some perspective from your quarter, since Eric doesn't know you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm a business owner that run a high-tech entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley for about 40 years, and I get to know Sam about 10 years ago, and he invited me about 3 months ago, something like 2 or 3 months ago, and I just continued. I'm trying to get a sense again, where is it going? And like this morning, I just thought about a metaphor that perhaps might be helpful for us. Think of it like we have several tour buses, and each of them have a label on it. And some of them have no labels on it, doesn't know where it's going. And then we have small buses that tow some small, a small vehicle behind the bus that people just take off and have branch off. And I tell you, it's chaos.
Yeah.
We don't have a tour agency, whatever you want to call that, And we have a lot of tour guide that they want to take you to wherever they want to take you. And so we're sort of having fun, just like no agenda, no destination, no goal. So I say, so if we want to get anything done, we need to put labels on the tour bus. Okay, we're going, going to Boston or going to wherever. So unless we have that's decision number one. And before we have the decision number one, we have decision number 0, which is called motivation. I call them compelling reason. So I must go to Boston because I want to give Barry a hug or something, whatever the reason that may be, So unless you have a motivation enough, compelling reason enough that allow me to put a label on the bus, we're not going anywhere again. So unless motivation comes, the destination is not decided, and then we just scatter again. So I'm fine with it, all that. I'm just saying destination is having fun with not sure where it's going. We're wasting a lot of gas. That's why, we got plenty of gas.
Okay. Yeah,
Joshua.
I was just going to catch up with you, Eric. And just from my perspective, it's we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 roughly that pop in and out, systems thinkers. And there's no shortage of systems to think about. So we've been, especially with all these new large language model systems being coming up. And I think last time we talked, what was 2019? I don't know when the last time, I'm trying to remember the last time. My favorite GCC meeting was the meeting you and Sam Hahn regulated 5 minutes. And it was concise, clear. Do you remember that meeting?
That was right when COVID started. I think it was that May that, I had the idea, like he was giving people turns at leading the meeting. And my idea was to try to use the brain and to put a little timer on the screen so people know how much time they have to talk, and then capture everybody's thoughts. And that brain is still out there. But it's never been followed up on. But it was a good practice for people to express themselves, given we were all going through the same thing and figuring out what makes sense. Where do we go from here now that we're all locked down? And and observations from different parts of the world. How is it different in other states and countries? Yeah,
the one thing we haven't done that I would have liked to do more is we've talked a lot about local politics, meaning USA politics, North American.
Yep.
But not global. We did talk a little bit before when things were heating up last year in Taiwan, and Sam was very concerned about that. And we talked a little bit, I think, before the Ukraine war, but after the war in Ukraine, it's almost like a taboo subject to start talking about global politics, just because it's so it gets so heated due to the closeness with nuclear war at this moment in time. So, but to me, the latest thing that I've done is I got a really nice visualized GDP chart of the world with 180 countries, and I'm happy to share it with the group here too. But it shows a visual graph of circles of Asia, North America, Europe, and the rest of the world in Africa. And by size, you can see the GDP of Russia is just about the same size as the GDP of Mexico. And a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I personally would like, as far as where we're going, I would like to move towards which systems are working in other parts of the world, and which systems could we adopt and scale, not in the whole globe, but in different countries that are willing to govern in ways that, such as the governance system in Switzerland is very different than the governance system in France.
Sure.
So those systems work for those areas because of the way they've carved out the cantons and they've carved out certain niches. And the big conversation I'd like to have at some point is, in America itself, we have the 50 states, but there's definitely little groups of, if you will, of same type thinking in terms of a couple of states. So meaning not Texas and Florida are very different states, very different economies, very different, but there's certain type of thinking that runs through. They're both leaning more Republican, but also leaning more towards liberty and freedom than, say, California or New York or Illinois. So,
what really concerns me is the division among people, how we've been polarized so much now, and how do we get back together from that? And I mean, if we took the time to sit down and have these long conversations and understand where each other's coming from, that's a start. And I'm sure there are places that are doing that. And but where practically for each one of us, what is really practical? I mean, there's local stuff and so.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up, there was just a conference, I think it's I'm not sure where they held it, but it's called Databricks. Are you guys familiar with that?
Well, I am.
Out of that conference, I think a lot of computer scientists were talking about different ways to normalize data, control data, and the Spark open source Spark, I think that comes from Stanford, and the Apache open source, how we utilize these large data sets that we're able to build. And I think that's the game changer, where we can have all the different states give all their different data and sort of come up with some sort of normalized data charts that the entire United States can look at without arguing and say, this is how North Carolina dealt with the lockdown. This is how Texas dealt with the lockdown. This is how Wyoming dealt with the lockdown. But the populations are different. The people are different. And also the immunity are different. The different states have different policies for health in terms of who gets vaccinated at what age. And so,
I think there's even a more fundamental problem is the issues of education, this polarization because of different ways people think. the way they grow up, and so I would say between the generations, so like there's a certain art of getting through to a millennial, certain art of getting through to the elderly, and the people who have those skills, they're in pockets around the country or around the world. So yeah, if you're trying to look at systems, it's how do you get everybody on the same page? Now, an example is 1960s. Kennedy said, we're going to the moon, and we're doing it in this decade. Well, what was so different about us back then that let that happen? And yeah, so versus today, to have a real strong leader who can motivate people to really tackle the problems.
Okay, let's look at the real cost of that kiddie academy. It's this vacant lot now being prepared. All the trees that were cut down, all the money. And what do we got here? Pile of branches. And we got logs. Let's see how old these trees were. Zoom in a little. Yep. I'm guessing 50 years, 40 years, I don't know. And these trees saw a lot in their lifetime. But the chainsaw won. Because we need a daycare. For this Apple II Plus, it needs RAM, but I'm going to use these 4164 chips and do this modification so that they will be 16K ROM chips instead. So this is a 4116 tester, which I just modified to break pin 1 and to connect pin 8 and pin 9 so I could test the 4164s. And it's an Arduino, turn on power, and it starts testing. And it runs through 4 test cycles where that red light flashes briefly. And at the end, if it's all good, it stays green. So this is cannibalized from an old 1980s machine, the 4164s. What is this Coco doing in a video about AprilApples. Well, it's playing the MIDI, and this I soldered together today so I could select a song from Lyra, because these are just potentiometers which act like a joystick, and the MIDI comes out of the serial through that cable and into the piano. But here's the Apple part. The Apple IIgs showing me what the Coco is playing. Beautiful GS. So my goal for AprilApples is to design a system for education using this Apple II Plus, which has a Passport-compatible MIDI interface, and this is the disk drive, 5 1/4 drive controller with the correct 19-pin going to a floppy EMU, and the monitor, so I could bring this into a classroom and then turn on, and you see the nice power light, and could explain to kids about the Apple. And now it played a C major chord, and now it's running a program called Guitar. And this is the menu. I press 1, and it's showing each note one at a time. So you could hear, like, the 5th fret is usually the same as the open of the next string. It still holds true except for the B string. That's B, then you're on a C. And it has the MIDI note numbers. Okay, so now I want to load a set of chords. C major 7th, a D, a G, E minor, and A minor. Okay, so the chords are in data statements, which I'll show you in the program, and there are modifier characters. So like the @ sign means no modifier, but then the next one has an N, which means make it minor, and those are the fret positions. And then E minor and A minor, and then I'm defining other possible modifiers which I could implement over time for my purposes. Okay, and then the ultimate goal is to be able to play the guitar, where you would type a note, and so like that would play a C major chord triad, or if you wanted that C major 7th, you would type an